final coverage of what we've learned throughout this artificial intelligence journey today. Yeah, My AI Adventure by Alexander Britton. Um, don't have a lot of images or anything here. I'm just going to go over everything I've learned for these topics that are listed in the presentation, and probably a few more because this class has beautifully overlapped with a couple other things I've had going on. So large language models, these are probably the most commonly associated thing with artificial intelligence. This is probably what people think of when they think artificial intelligence. Something you can talk to that talks back intelligently, with or without a voice, text, looking things up, performing calculations. Really, really useful. Awesome to just have a more a live interface to interact with as a person. We look things up on the internet, somewhere between all the advertisements and all the SEO services trying to produce different websites. Large language models are really nice because they're just trained on data, and they just tell you the data, and they don't try to sell you anything specific. Even though I have found that different companies' AI models are biased to themselves a little bit, but that's understandable. AI music, this is one of my favorite parts of this course. I really liked how well AI could put music together and the different genres and everything. Considering all the digital music that's, saved and translated and communicated through the medium of technology. AI music, I think, is just a really interesting one because music's been such a massive thing throughout history, and seeing AI put something together based on what it's seen from us, is really interesting, and all the different sites you can go to produce that music. AI images, I really like these too. They're just interesting to see because sometimes the AI will produce some odd looking images, but the and I've used them already for other programs. In the C# class I took, I used AI images for the background of a window for a program, and the Moonbase one, I'm sure that it's easy to remember for some people, but the image generation is really useful. It's really interesting, the way that some people think it's kind of pushing it on art, but we'll see how that goes. AI programming, this I know plenty about. I spent a lot of time just getting down the basics of programming when I first got to school, back to school, and as I've gotten further along and I realize how much AI can help, I mostly write pseudocode when I program now, um, and then I just put it into the programming IDE as a comment, and the majority of the code I need to write, it'll produce for me. The majority. It doesn't mean it does everything, and it doesn't mean it does it perfectly, but it's very, very useful. It makes it much more efficient. You don't have to sit there and type out every letter and worry about every point of punctuation or anything like that. It'll kind of, slap down the basics for you, and then you can just change parameters or values or variables or whatever you want to do. Document scanning is actually a really interesting one because I took a statistical data science class this semester as well, and be able to look into documents is really, really awesome to be able to give, ChatGPT or another, like Claude, a CSV or Excel file, and have it give you basic information about it before you even start like a regular data analysis is really cool, really useful. Once again, another way that AI kind of, you know, greases the hinges between some of these different tasks that a computer science major would have to tackle in their career. AI vision is the one that is really, really interesting and kind of scary because AI is so good at detecting facial features that in some places in the world people are just constantly monitored, identified where they're at all times. It's not people doing it, obviously it's these systems, and they'll report to people if something's like wrong. But it's just interesting to see how well it's come about doing that, and the way it can identify art styles and reproduce art styles is also really, really interesting. Reinforcement learning. This goes into machine learning and deep learning. This is basically sending an AI agent into an environment and reinforcing its behaviors based on good or bad. So, like if you're teaching an AI agent to identify a cat compared to a dog, when it incorrectly identifies the cat, you have to give it negative reinforcement. And when it correctly identifies the cat, you give it positive reinforcement, just like how people learn. But it's really cool just because it's kind of the process of that, um, machine learning algorithm adjusting the weights of correlation between the data points it used to get to its conclusion, whether it was right or wrong. It's either going to reinforce them like, oh, this was the proper path of deduction or logic to get to this conclusion, or it wasn't, and so it'll adjust those numbers accordingly. AI video is getting scary in a cool way, but it's, like when stuff like this gets really, really well done, I think a lot of artistic endeavors start to feel threatened. But I'm not sure it would ever really fully replace it because only humans are going to be able to activate human emotion effectively within each other. So only like art that's carefully crafted by people is going to be significantly noticed. If we start getting a generic AI produced art form, we're going to become really, really numb to it very quickly. I think it'll lose its touch very quickly. And so I don't think it'll push in that hard, but it is really interesting to see how well it has done. It's getting a lot better at doing hands and feet now too. Um, AI business, part of my final was to do an adaptive, that was my final, an adaptive chatbot that could extract, or was not extracted, but was basically going to automatically open this chatbot on a website. It's a JavaScript, and you could go into any HTML. You can inspect it, copy the HTML, and then it automatically links to this JS file I have. And so I could just modify that, open up a version of that same website. You're not going to try to interact with it. All you're going to do is you're going to access, it's going to automatically have all the metadata, the description, and all those things about the website prefaced for the API call that happens in the JavaScript file. So basically you're going to be able to extract and analyze information about a website and the all the metadata and everything else in there, and you could expand the scope of this to go even further if you wanted to basically get an idea of what this website contains and what the theme and the idea is, and what it is. And then in the future would be really cool to see an AI chatbot that would change its personality based on what it's associating with. So if it's like a restaurant about barbecue food in a southern state, maybe it would start using southern slang and other words associated around barbecue cooking, and it would just start to like kind of like, oh, I hope you're having a hickory sweet day. It could start to take on themes like that, and I think that would be really cool because then you could have chatbots that sort of fit the theme of the website or the web traffic they're associated with. But yeah, that's me just covering what I've gone over and learned in this class, and it's been a good ride. Look forward to learning more.